Welcome to Making a Smarter Agent. My guest today is Paul Zweben. Welcome.
Hi, Edmund. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on board. This is great to have you here today. You're a chef, you're an agent, you're a super agent, your team is consistently among the top performing agents and top producers. And we're going to get to all of that. But first, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? You know, how you came to be in this crazy business.
Sure. So a lot of people know this, but when I was younger, in 7th and 8th grade, I took home economics in school, and I absolutely loved cooking. And I decided that I wanted to be a chef. And I remember telling my 4'10" grandma that I wanted to be a chef, and she screamed at me and she said, "You should be a doctor or a lawyer." And at that point, for quite a long time, I really put my nose to the ground and learned how to be a great chef, and opened about 8 restaurants. Fast forward to the tipping point of when I was 42 years old, and I had opened a restaurant in Washington, D.C. I was working there 6 days a week, flying back on Sundays to see my wife for a couple hours and then passing out and then flying back the following day. And when I walked back into the same hotel that I had checked out the day before on a specific occasion, the person that checked me in was the same person that had checked me out the day before. And she goes, "Didn't you just check out yesterday?" And at that point I realized I can't do this anymore. So I came home and I looked at my wife and I said, in 20 years, I'm going to be in my 60s. And if I'm still in the food service business, one night while we're up in our house in the country and I'm sleeping, please go to Walmart, get a nice big bat, come home and take care of me. So,
so this is a marriage that works.
Yes. So she basically said, you know what? She had been a broker for about 4 or 5 years. She said, "You've been buying and selling real estate since you were in your 20s. You listen to every one of my deals on the phone when you're home. Why don't you be my business partner?" And that was it. And I said, "Wow, sounds good." And literally the next day I walked in to my restaurant partners, told them that I was leaving and it would be about a year's worth of, gradual, exiting. And they laughed at me and said, "Paul, you're a restaurant lifer. You're not going anywhere." And I said, "No, I'm leaving." And that was that. And that's what brings me here a full 13 years later.
Amazing. And no regrets. That's a question.
I'm sorry?
No regrets. You were
No. I mean,
the best choice for you.
There are no regrets. It has gotten really, really hard in New York City to run a profitable restaurant, especially with these crazy, leases that the commercial owners are charging these restaurants, where literally you sign a lease and you're already behind the 8 ball. So no, there are no regrets. I work harder than I've ever worked in my life in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we could just digress for 1 second, you went from the stressful world of restaurants to the relaxing world of selling real estate. I'm saying that with total sarcasm and a smirk.
I know. Well, and you're right, because when my wife said to me, "Do you want to join me?" I was like, wow, this is going to be like a cushy deal, Little did I know that, with 3 different downturns under my belt, it can get pretty stressful.
Sure. So you went into that. I mean, but you still have your hands in the restaurant, it seems a little bit. I mean, you identify as a chef. When you said that more than once, that it still seems to be a passion of yours.
Yes. No, I absolutely love cooking. Love it.
Okay. Have you brought anything from your past into the business today that's allowed you to be so successful? And we're going to get to what you're doing to make the phone ring, but in a minute. But was there anything about being in the restaurant business, the contacts, the proximity that has helped you sell real estate?
I've definitely done business with people that I've met in the restaurant business, both chefs and customers and past employees. And then, I think that it's interesting. If you think about it, if you're a restaurant and you're about to do 500 brunches on a Sunday and 3 of your cooks don't show up, you can't go to your 500 customers and say, sorry, 3 of my cooks didn't show up, so service is going to be a little slower. They don't care. And it's similar in the real estate business. Our customers don't care if you are taking your 7-year-old to a birthday party. They don't care if they're in Asia and you're in the US and they want to talk to you at, 2:00 in the afternoon and it's, 2:00 in the morning your time. So it really comes down to whatever it takes, and that's the whatever it takes mentality.
Making a Smarter Agent would like to thank its 2 sponsors. The first is Organized New York Palm Beach, which you could see on Instagram at the handle Organized Palm Beach. Let's face it, organization stinks. It's tough. Organized New York Palm Beach is the premier organizing company that operates between New York and Palm Beach County, Florida. Go check them out on Instagram at Organized Palm Beach. Also, Rain Nation. That's the Real Estate Information Group Network. Think of it as group therapy for realtors. And you know what? We need it. It's part think tank, it's part coaching, it's all opportunity. Rain Nation, that's REIGNATION. You can find it on Facebook. Sure. Well, fast forwarding now, 13 years, you're in the business. Let's talk a little bit about, without getting into your too far into your personal business here, by percentage, what does your team make up as far as success in Douglas Elliman? In other words, where do you rank?
I think in 2018 we were number 21 in the whole firm. And I'm not sure what 2019 is going to be. I'm sure you know this, but we have been experiencing a bumpy market. It is an absolute buyer's market with a ton of opportunities, but you have sellers that are holding on to that old price. So every deal is a pressure cooker, but eventually we get them done. So sure. I don't know what we're going to come in at this year for 2019. Okay,
but without glossing over that, there's well over 7,000 agents within Douglas Elliman. So for your group to be number 21, it's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no sense beating yourself up. Why do you think people like to do business with you?
I think with both my wife and myself and everyone that's on our team is what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. There's no make-believe about it. When we sell a property, in our heads, we own that property. So our emotions get a little bit more involved than they should get in a deal. And it's the same thing when we represent buyers. It's really, the customer is always coming first. It doesn't matter what our needs are, and just being authentic. And that's really what comes through in our business. And then it's like really knowing the market and being honest with our sellers and our buyers. That's why they work with us.
Fantastic. I mean, because this podcast is geared towards the working real estate agent, I want to get a little bit into your marketing, into a little bit how you're getting the phone to ring, some of the rituals. I know you're kind of a ritualistic guy, as I am. You wake up at a certain time, you do a certain set of things. Talk to me first about the volume of activity. How do you actually get people to call you? How do you get people to notice in a world where there's so many different agents?
So it's interesting. I was interviewing a new agent yesterday who does a lot of business up in Harlem. And I told her in the last 13 years, I've probably made about 4, and I said the number 4 cold calls in 13 years. And she was like, well, how do you get business? And, I looked at her and I said, there's a ton of different ways that, that we generate business, from me and my wife being active in both of our children's schools, from us being active in different charities, from us staying in touch with our past clients and agents that we do business with all over the country, mm-hmm. from our social media, and from, staying in front of people's faces.
Okay. And can you break it down a little bit? As far as one time we had a conversation about how successful your spin class has been for you. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about the kids. I've got kids, and a lot of people listening to this certainly have kids. How much do you have to pimp them out in order to get business?
That's a good question, and it's pretty funny. I think I pimp out my daughter a little bit more than my son at this point, but she's 7, and if I tell her let's do a video, she's like, "Daddy, give me the subject line, and I got this." But I think it's just about being part of the community, and I'm not one of those guys that walks up to a set of parents or one or two and say, "Hey, I sell real estate." It's more like, what's your kid's name? Are they having fun? Are they in Olivia's class? And then we sort of end up in the real estate conversation, because it really comes down to 3 things in New York. It's babies, real estate, and food. So, I hit pretty much all 3 of those.
Isn't that babies, real estate, and food? That's going to be the primary. If I had to add a 4th, I'd probably say travel, but that might tie into food.
Yeah, travel.
Yeah,
and then politics, but I try not to talk about those.
It's important.
For that.
Hallelujah. We need to do a podcast on that. Tell me about when you're actually engaging with parents. I mean, do you use a CRM? Is there any technology or any technique that you say, wait a minute, I haven't spoken to Mary Jones in a long time. I better give her a call. I mean, how do you keep track of all the people? To be up there, you have to have something, right?
Right. Yeah, I do use a CRM. We also, there are things that we do that are like soft touches. We have a newsletter, which is about food and real estate, that goes out 12 times a year to about 7,000 past clients, current clients, and agents all over the country. And, we just touch them. And it's interesting. Like when we get newsletters from other brokers and there's like, here's 355 tips for November, I'm like, delete. And with ours, it's just like a message from me and Carolyn, a featured listing, a recipe, and a glass of wine or a bottle of beer. And it's very, very simple and clean. And we get about a 37% open rate, which is great. Most newsletters get about a 16 or 17% open rate. So we're about double, if not more.
So slow down. I don't want to pass that. 37% open rate. How many people are being emailed? This is email, of course.
Yeah, between 6,000 and 7,000 people.
So 37%. So you've got over 2,000 opens.
Correct.
2,500. That's incredible.
Right. Wow. So, but to answer also, I mean, I use a CRM. I am reminded every day, and I go into the CRM to just see, because you just never know. You forget things. The other thing is I use Outlook. It's like there is a woman that emailed me last night from Olivia's preschool who, I mean, we probably haven't spoken to her in 4 years. She said there's a listing that she's interested in. There is a contract out on it. And what I did was I just said, I'll speak to you over, next week early and let you know what the update is. And I just basically dragged that email into Outlook for Monday the 11th as a reminder to myself to reach out to her and give her an update and try to turn her into an actual customer.
That's amazing. And she's been getting these drips. Do you call them drip emails?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So you attribute that connection to your ongoing marketing effort, no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good. Talk to me a little bit about social media. One of the things that you have, and I'll give you my outsider's view, if you allow. People look
Sure.
at Paul Zweben and they see nice guy, family guy, something's very trustworthy about your face. Okay?
Thank
Something's
you.
very, very trustworthy. You look like a trusting guy. Is that deliberate? Is that something that when you put a post, is that something you're trying to strive for?
I mean, it's true, but it's not deliberate. I mean, it's exactly who I am. I mean, I remember when my wife figured out that if my nostrils flare, I'm lying. So
you better not play poker with her.
Well, I shouldn't play poker with anybody, but it's just being authentic. And, yes, I'm a family man. I think both of us know that it's not easy being a parent, especially, with both, girls and boys. I have a little bit more difficulty with my son because he's just a madman who's only 3. But no, it's just being authentic. I'm not pushing that across. It's just coming out naturally.
Okay. And talk to me about the channels that you're actually firing on. I know that we've got Facebook, but we've got multiple accounts, no?
Yes.
So
So
tell
I
us
would
about that.
say, I would say my most successful channels are, excuse me, Facebook and Instagram. One of the fun stories on Facebook, well, it's a great story, but about a year and a half ago, I got a private message from a contractor in New York City who's a friend of mine on Facebook and said, Paul, I have this $10 million buyer. Are you interested in working with him? And of course, the answer was absolutely. And fast forward a year and a half later, we closed on a 3-bedroom at 15 Central Park West for $9.35 million, which I would say that's a success social media conversion. And then
we call that Zweben money.
Yeah, it's I'll take it. And then the other one that was really fun this year. So every single morning, the night before when I go to sleep, my daughter, who's 7, she helps me pick out my suits, my ties, and my pocket squares. And it's a really cool thing. And hopefully someday when she's a parent, she'll remember those things as being a little girl with her daddy. But in the morning, I take a photo, not of my face, but just of the suit, the pocket square and the tie. And I guess about 5 or 6 or 7 months ago, I get a call from a guy in California. He said, you don't know me. I'm not happy with my current agent. I love your suits on Instagram, and I want you to sell my apartment at 101 West 79th Street. And he hired me sight unseen. Obviously we had a conversation on the phone, but he hired me sight unseen to sell, their pied-à-terre because of my suits. And, I'm going to keep posting my suits every day.
I honestly, that's the most remarkable thing I've ever heard.
It's awesome.
That's
really awesome.
That's really remarkable. So, so you get your suits every day and your daughter picks them out, which is great because I honestly think you also have in the summertime, I think, an annual tradition where you go to a venue named Paul and Daughter, right?
Yes, Paul's daughter, yes.
Paul's daughter. Okay, sorry, Paul's daughter. Yeah. And now I see you brought your son along as well, but not to leave him out of that. But It's kind of funny because now you've done this 3 years now or 2?
No, I think we're at like 5 years now.
And I swear to you, I say to myself, I think it's about time that Paul go to that restaurant. It's terrific because you could do a comparison about how much all this is great. It makes you real, and I love that. How many social media channels? I think you've got. Tell everybody again. I want you to get some followers here. What are your channels? What are the names of them?
Okay, so the Instagram channel, I have 2 of them. One is The Zweben Team, all one word, The Zweben Team.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, and then that's our business one, and then our personal one, which is about food and real estate, is called Hungry Domain, DOMAINE. I don't think I have any more availabilities for friends on Facebook, which I think is ridiculous, but I think they cap it out at 5,000.
They do.
I'm still active on Twitter, but I don't think that, I know I haven't generated any business on it in a long time, but I have done deals in the past on Twitter when Twitter was more like the form of social media. But I still think it's a good vehicle to use and also to learn from and, like what's going on in the mornings. But basically, Instagram TV, and Facebook.
Instagram TV. Talk to us about Instagram TV.
Do you use it, Edmund?
I do, but it's really just an extension of my story in a sense. It's
right.
Yeah. So tell us about how you're using it.
So Instagram TV, obviously you can do videos that are longer than a minute. And I still try to keep the videos only like up to 2 minutes because honestly, people don't have the focus that they can watch it for that long. But what it does is it basically, you post on Instagram TV and then the first minute goes on to your Instagram. You can also link it to your Facebook. And then once it's done with the first minute, there's a little button that you click on and you can continue it on Instagram TV. What it does is it helps the algorithms on Instagram TV help your increase your followers, and they're like real followers. So I've been using that. I don't use it every single day. I probably use it once a week. And I try to, get my points across.
Yeah,
With,
what are the points? What's the content that you're actually doing at that point?
I mean, just like what you're doing right now, like where to help agents, just because I sell real estate doesn't mean, I'm an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since 1993. There are things that can really mess you up as an entrepreneur. And there's every once in a while I'll talk about, why you should save money, or why you should go to the gym every day, or why you should be grateful every day, or why you should meditate every day. But other pieces of content are about, sometimes I'll talk about a recipe and I'll be like, you want to know why I'm talking about a recipe and why it correlates with a deal? It's like if you miss one ingredient in a deal, that dish or / deal will most likely be bad. And so if you think about when you're baking, a pound cake, which is a pound of sugar, a pound of flour, a pound of eggs, and a pound of butter, if you miss one of those ingredients, your pound cake is going to be yucky. Same thing as a deal.
Is that really the ingredients in a pound cake? Because everything's a pound?
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm learning so much from you already. You're an amazing man. This is amazing.
Thank you.
So you're getting out advice, and certainly the advice business is great if people like it. I'm trying to post that as well. Let's just shift gears a bit because, again, time's flying by here. I want to know about the rituals. You're an early riser, and all of us have heard stats that the people who wake up the earliest tend to earn more. But you do beyond. Talk to me about your daily routine.
Okay, so I wake up at 4:30 every morning. My alarm is set for 4:45. I don't think I ever use the alarm, but every once in a while it's there. So I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I get out of bed. I go downstairs. We have a duplex on the Upper West Side. I go through some emails, and then at 5 a.m. I am on a 5-minute call with about 1,400 entrepreneurs where all of us are muted except for one person, and they talk about whatever they want. Sometimes it's about what they're going through. Sometimes it's about what are you planning on doing for the holidays, meaning how are you going to touch your customers. It really depends, but that's sort of the jump start. I then, and I'm already in my gym clothes. I then get up. Typically, I go outside of my building and do one Instagram post on both my personal and business page, like an Instagram story. And it really just depends on what's going through my brain. Then I walk to the gym, stand at the gym from like 5:20 to 5:30, talk to some people, just seeing how they're doing. At 5:30, I go into the gym. At 6 o'clock, I'm done with my workout. I meditate for about 5 minutes. I then go to Dunkin' Donuts. I get 2 cups of coffee that have cream, no sugar. Walk the same path back to my building, say hello to a bunch of doormen and whoever else is in the neighborhood. Then I take a quick shower. Wake up my daughter, take a quick shower, put on the suit that she picked out the night before. And then at 7:22, we are in a car going across town to her school. Her and I spend about 15 minutes in one of the little libraries at the school. We talk a little bit because I think that's important. And then she goes upstairs, and then I wait for a car to pick me up to go to the office. So I'm typically in the office, depending upon the time of the year between, in the summer, I'm here much earlier. I'm usually here at like 7. And in the, when it's school time, I'm usually here about 8:05, 8:07. And then, I check, our bank accounts. I check our credit card spendings. I see if there's any emergencies from the night before. And then I start, pushing through the day.
I mean, you're more disciplined than Rain Man. I mean, this is 7:22. That's the routine like predictability, I guess.
Yeah. And I will tell you this, Edmund, and I know for a fact because, it's not that I've studied it. I've just been through it. If I stop going to the gym and I stop the routine, my business slows down. And, it's like it takes, I forget how many days to create a habit. It also is very, I'm sorry?
They say 21 days to create a habit.
Right. And it's also, so it's very easy to like go to the gym. And it's also very easy to go downstairs and lie down on the couch and sleep for an extra hour. And, for me, like if I start sleeping too much, my brain starts spinning too much and it's just not good. So I got to go to the gym.
Okay. No, fair enough. I like that. I want to also not miss the point. You and I participate in a weekly think tank, and one of the things that you mentioned in the past is that the gym has been a source of business, particularly your spin class, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Can you elaborate on that? How many deals have you gotten from that activity, and what was the dollar amount of those transactions?
Sure. So I've been going to the same gym for a long time. It's Equinox on Broadway between 91st and 92nd Street. And I started spinning, I don't know, I guess about 10 or 11 years ago. And there were these women, all in their early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, clearly A-type personalities. And they called themselves the Spin Sisters. And one day, one of them, her name is Marla. She came up to me and she said, "Do you want to be a spin sister?" And I'm like, "Of course I want to be a spin sister." And it really became this little family, and, time after time, one of them would end up moving out of the city or moving to another, area of New York, and I helped them. So I would say with the Spin Sisters, just the women that I spun with, probably about 50 million in sales.
Let's not gloss over that. 50 million in sales. Over what period of time?
Over like a 5-year period, 6-year period.
Amazing.
But I will tell you this, then another one of the current Spin Sisters introduced me to a family, and basically by the end of this year we will have sold them $9 million in property and have done 3 rental deals for them that are probably, I don't know, $20,000 a month rental, cumulative in rentals. So that was also a phenomenal connection. And these folks, we're going to one of their kids' baby namings. We're part of the family, but this was a connection made by one of the Spin Sisters. So I'm grateful for all of the Spin Sisters.
Listen up, agents, get your butts into the gym. There is health and money to be made. And it's interesting that you've adopted this lifestyle. One of the things that I've seen about agents, and you could tell me your thoughts on this, that people treat sales as if they are almost a master-servant relationship. And I think the people like you that I see who are really successful become peers. It's not to be a cop-out to do less customer service. I know you work so hard to serve. But do you see it that way? You just said you become part of the family. Is that something that you see with most of your clients?
I think so. Look, and there are certain people that you just connect with, and there are people that we are at so many of their events. Of course, you're not going to connect with every single customer, but we really, we become their family and they become our family. Yeah, there's no question.
Amazing. That's great. That's great stuff. What advice would you give an agent, that's just starting out? I'm not going to say that they're desperate for money, but they look at somebody like you and they say, "I want to be like Paul when I grow up." What advice would you tell them as they're trying to grow out their business?
It's an excellent question. So the first thing is, and when I talk to new agents, I ask them how much cash they have in the bank because I think it's really important. They may not do a deal for 6 months or a year. So, if you're sleeping on your mother's couch and you start to do a couple deals, what I would say is instead of getting that first apartment, renting or buying, I would sleep on their couch for another 6 months and build a little cash reserve, because I really think that that's important. Once you build the cash reserve and start doing deals, I would try to get a line of credit from a bank where you have something to fall back on. And, and then really, really just learn your craft. It's not, I remember many times there would be guys that would, put on a chef uniform for Halloween, and they would look like a chef. And I would walk up to them and be like, it takes, a minute to look like a chef, but it takes 20 years to be a chef. And, just because you're putting on a suit or, a beautiful dress and, beautiful shoes, it doesn't make you an agent yet. So it's really learn your craft. I mean, in New York, I think that you should work for either as an assistant or work on a team to be part of, listening to the negotiations and feeling the leaders and the other teammates' energies and feeling the hunger and really learning. So it's like learn your craft before you, do anything else.
Learn your craft. I love those words. That's the name of the game. Paul, I'm grateful that you took your time today. I know you're a busy guy. So to actually get you to sit down for 30 minutes is a challenge. I feel like a real winner because I figured that one out.
You are a winner.
And I want to just tell everyone that we are going to be back next week. My future guests, and again, not necessarily in this order, we have Enzo Morabitu from Douglas Elliman, Long Island, or the Hamptons. We've got Jennifer Leahy, who's going to be on this. Ivan Estrada is going to be later this month. And we've got people outside of Elliman, some recognizable landlords, and others. I am all ears. This is a new podcast. I very much want to get your feedback to find out how we're doing, the questions that should be asked, and who we should be interviewing. And Paul, you're a good friend. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on my next trip to New York.
Sounds perfect, Edmund. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Making a Smarter Agent would like to thank its two sponsors. The first is Organized New York Palm Beach, which you could see on Instagram at the handle Organized Palm Beach. Let's face it, organization stinks. It's tough. Organized New York Palm Beach is the premier organizing company that operates between New York and Palm Beach County, Florida. Go check them out on Instagram at Organized Palm Beach. Also, Rain Nation. That's the Real Estate Information Group Network. Think of it as group therapy for realtors. And you know what? We need it. It's part think tank, it's part coaching, it's all opportunity. Rain Nation, that's REIGNATION. You can find it on Facebook.